Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to Night Court Narrative. I am Elvish. Here next to me is Violet. I am aware that you guys might notice something a little bit different. We are missing our co-host. Um, yeah, you know, I guess to be fully transparent, because I have always been a very transparent person. The co-host and I, unfortunately, did not work out. She might be back to guest star. As of right now, I am doing this solo, and I do have a few guest stars coming up. I have a few of my really good friends. They have decided to step up and do a few guest stars here and there, and eventually, if you guys like them or if I feel like they're a good fit, then they, one or both, might come in and be permanent. And I have been talking to Aqua. I know if you guys have been here for a minute, Aqua was the original co-host. He ended up leaving to focus on school and his career, but he might come back to do guest stars as well, but that is okay. With that being said, today I am personally discussing Under Your Scars by Ariel D. Anderson. This is a 1.5 book series. The first book is Under Your Scars. The second book is Delilah Under Your Scars. The second book only being a 44-page novella, but it is definitely worth it in the end. I guess moving forward, or going forward in this video, Under Your Scars does have some pretty heavy trigger warnings, so please definitely take a look at that. And Under Your Scars is also not an HEA, and if you are unaware of what that is, that means that Under Your Scars does not end with a happily ever after. So this is a very, very depressing book. It is easily my all-time favorite book now. After reading it, I was put in a hefty 2-week reading slump. I was unable to find a book that I thoroughly enjoyed after reading this, and I wasn't able to find something that made me feel the way that this book felt. So I was very grateful to read this book, and I was very grateful that I took the time to, I guess, give it a shot, because there was actually a moment when I was getting ready to read it. I was like, I don't know if I feel this. And I was like, no, you know what, Elvish, you have been wanting to read this book forever. Please do so. And yeah, the rest is history. But yeah, so I guess super quick summary. We follow the female main character. Her name is Elena. She doesn't work for the best person in the world. Her boss is kind of a scumbag. But on the way home one day, she ends up getting stopped in an alleyway with 3 to 4 guys. They are attempting to rape and murder. And the town serial killer ends up coming by. He pew-pews all of them, saves her life, and then spends majority of the book, I would say, how do I say this? He breaks into her house, but respects her boundaries, doesn't really touch her, do anything like that, but he just watches her, keeps her company, even though she clearly says, I don't want you here. But he's like, well, get the fuck over it, because I'm here, so that's a whole side plot there. And then we go to her main job. She, like I said, her boss is a scumbag. He doesn't really do good for her. He ends up, I guess, needing her for some weird fucking work project thing, and unfortunately, because of the 3 to 4 guys in the alleyway, her phone is broken. So she comes to work and she's like, hey, like, I'm sorry, I know you've been calling me because you said that, I don't have a phone. And he's basically like, okay, well, you're useless, get the fuck out. So he fires her, and on her way out, she ends up running into the CEO of the company. Like, his name is actually on the building. She tells him kind of what happened with her boss, the CEO is like, no, you're not fired. Actually, this scumbag is fired. So he ends up threatening her boss, gets her fired, all that good stuff. They kind of start a little relationship. So they have like a workplace relationship going. It's very cute. And, you know, she ends up starting a second job at night, goes to this kind of sketchy bar where it's like a strip bar kind of situation, you know? And yeah, that does horrible things. You know, there's not the best people there in the world and not the best situation for her to be in. So the silencer, which is the serial killer, ends up taking it in his own hands and ends up murking a few people there as well. And, you know, we do spoilers here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go on, click the next video. I'll give you a second. But spoiler alert, we do find out that Christian, aka the male main character, aka the CEO baddie, he is the silencer. He's kind of has like this split personality type thing. So he is in her life in two different ways, if that makes sense. But anyway, we do find out that Christian, like I said, the male main character, he is a pretty decent human being. He has a whole community, I guess you could say, that has housing and job opportunities for women and children that were saved from horrible situations, as in like trafficking and all of that horrible stuff. And he gives them opportunities to not only better themselves while working, like the teenagers get jobs, they get to figure out how to live in everyday society while also being protected, which is pretty cool. One of them being a little girl named Caroline. She is 4 years old, I believe. Eventually, she ends up getting adopted by Elena and Christian. A massive, beautiful family I love. But then we kind of get into Elena's family a little bit, and, you know, Papa Bear is not happy that Elena is with Christian, and it's very difficult because we do find out, again, spoiler alert, that Elena's father ended up killing both of Christian's parents, but Christian's father also murked Elena's father's original wife and twin daughters. So they have history and whatever. Anyway, ending the summary, at the end, we end up having Christian's father. He pretends to be the silencer, and in the process accidentally kills off his wife, and then in turn also does the same to his daughter, so Elena is gone. Christian can't take that, so he and then I think ends up killing himself too, I remember that. And then Christian is gone, which leaves Caroline all by herself, which then goes to book 1.5, where it is 17 years later. Caroline comes back and basically ties up loose ends. But, you know, even though this book doesn't have an HEA, I really loved the concept around it. I loved all of the plot twists that it came with. I loved the chemistry between the two main characters, even with the silencer, like not knowing. I did have a suspicion like halfway through the book that this was going to be the male main character Christian. I was like, you know what? There's some similarity there. I think they're the same person. But, you know, I loved the silencer for what he was. I loved Christian for what he was. I do believe, even though at some point you do figure out that it's the same person, but they do feel like two completely different cases, I guess. And Elena, such a wonderful woman. I loved her so much. Caroline, I loved her. The complexity, I guess, between, or I guess behind the characters was really nice. There was a lot of character development and a lot of character growth between Christian, like on his side, and Elena on her side, even a little bit more so on like the mother's side for Elena. And then a lot of digression with her father, and then even towards the end of the book with Elena herself, she progresses, digresses, progresses, and it's like a massive like roller coaster ride, if that makes sense. But ultimately, this writing for this book was fantismo, 1000% fantastic. I loved every second of it. There was a good amount of spice. However, it's one of the dark romance books that don't rely on the spice to run the book. Rather, it relies on the plot to do everything for the book. So this was a very plot-driven book. If you are wondering kind of what vibes it gives off, no, I don't personally think it's like these books, but if we're talking about vibe only, I do think it gives vibes of Hunting and Haunting Adeline. I do think it gives vibes of possibly The Ritual type, but also gives vibes of King of Wrath. And I don't know. I enjoyed every second of it. I really, really enjoyed every second of it. I cried like a baby. I sobbed, actually, like full on heavily sobbed the entire time. And it broke my ever loving heart, because when I went into this book, I was unaware that it was a non-HEA. I didn't know that. I didn't, like, if you know anything about me, you know that I do not look up spoilers, and I don't read the synopsis like on the back of the book. I don't like it because I feel like synopsis on books give you the entire story away, and I'm like, why would you do that to me? Like, I am going out of my way to buy this $15-$20 book. I want to experience it all for myself. I don't want to sit here and be like, yo, well, I just read the back of this book, everything, yeah, no, this happened, that happened, you know. I don't appreciate that. So I went into this book completely blind, and I hate that I did that, only because of how much my heart broke. And I literally mean my heart fucking shattered. Listen guys, my heart shattered. When I tell you I sobbed, this book is so fucking sad. I didn't tell you the full ending of, I gave you the spoilers, sorry, whatever, you know. If you're watching this video, it's most likely because you've already read the book and you just want to hear someone else's opinion on it. Okay, listen, if you haven't read this book and you're watching this video, what are you doing? Please stop the video, go read the book, thank me later. Thanks. But no, like, I sobbed, and I immediately, and I literally mean immediately, ran to the second book, and I just let loose on it. It was only about maybe 44 pages long, so it only took me maybe an hour to read, but I was like, you know what, I can't go on with my life without knowing what happens next. And getting Caroline's story and like her side of things years and years later just broke my heart even more. But if it makes sense, and like in a sense mended that broken heart. Does that make sense? That's weird, yeah? But I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked it. As I mentioned, this has become one of my all-time favorite books. I will never in a million years stop recommending this, and I need someone to discuss this book with. So if you guys have read this book, by all means, please leave a comment down below and let's discuss it, because there is a lot that I didn't get to say in this book because I just don't really want to give everything away. But God, was this a fantastic book. And I need this author to like hurry up and write more, please. If you even have like the will to write more, like please write more, because I would die a very peaceful and happy death. But yeah, I loved this book so much. I could go on literally forever, but if you want a book with good twists and turns, if you want a book with good spice, if you want a book with a baddie duo main character, if you want complex characters, if you want a nice heartbreak but then trauma with restoration, and you know, like if those are your vibes, this book is for you. And I wholeheartedly think if you read this book, even though I gave this book a 5-star rating, I even gave the second book a 5-star because I wholeheartedly think if you read this book, you're not going to give it below a 4. I don't think everyone and their mothers will give it a 5 because yes, everyone has opinions and I respect that, but I truly believe this book is no less than a 4. And if you do decide to give it a shot after this, please leave a comment, let me know, and let's discuss it, because this is my life. But yeah, that was it. I know I didn't really give too much away, but this is one of the books where I need you to physically read it, and I need you to come to me and be like, Elvish, why did you do this to me? And all I'm gonna say is, because we're friends, we're besties, we're family. I have to wreck you at least once in my life, because you know what? I had to go through it. Now you have to go through it, you know? But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting summer for Night Court Narrative, but please stick with us. It's a very stressful time for me, and I'm gonna do everything I can not to let y'all know. So go ahead, bear with me. I will see all of you guys in the next video, and as always, stay cool. Bye guys.